Zenzenina,
Zenzenina, Zenzenina,
Zenzenina,
Zenzenina,
Zenzenina,
Zenzenina, Zenzenina, Zenzenina.
So when was the first time that you interacted on a more personal level with someone from a different race?
When I did my when I was 23 and I was doing my honors, I had peers who were white because I was the only black student in a class of 12. But I really didn't. It was such a strange environment. There was no real interaction. There was interaction that were students, but I didn't have any personal connection with any one of them because it was, I think they just, it was unfamiliar, it was uncomfortable for me and I think for them. So we would be in the same class and would sort of interact at that level, but come end of the session, everyone goes their own way.
Now, how do you feel that your experiences have affected you today? Still after reconciliation, do you think it has affected you?
My daughter and I were talking about this a few weeks ago, and she was saying, how was it? Because I don't understand how it was. And she was asking questions, and I just realized how much she does not understand how it was. Because affected is the wrong word. I think it defined who I am rather than affected me. So I think I am defined by that period in the history and the life I lead, the decisions I made, the way I look at life, how I get affected by things, how I interpret things, how I look at life is really through that lens. And I really think it has defined who I am rather than affected. I think affect is mild. But what I found was that as Pumi was growing up and she was 11, 12, 13, and we would, oh no, I'm crying, just have a conversation about something, she would look at it completely differently from the way that I look at it. And I just realized the impact of the past and how it was continuing to determine how I look at things currently, presently. And I think the harder piece was then, what do I then do with my children? How do I mean, there was a part of me that was saying, absolutely, they need to know where we've come from and this is how it is. But I realized that that's not how it is because they were experiencing it differently. And I realized that I was continuing to burden them with my experiences of apartheid. And it felt like, how can we fight for something and when we've eventually got it? And then I continue to burden my children with the stuff that was my burden. From that point on, I just realized that I needed to be different from my children, because it would be really pointless to have gone through 94, have democracy, and then still have generations that didn't experience it but living it through their parents, which is what I realized I was beginning to do.
Zed, if I may, as the producer, I've been learning a lot from your interview here with Kim, and I have a question. I grew up in the U.S., not very aware of segregation in my area. I am defined as much by that, I think, as you are by apartheid. So my question is, what is my role in the process of reconciliation as someone who grew up with white privilege?
What I have found at a personal level is that what's important to me is when people ask me about what that experience was about. Because I think that as a group that was defined by privilege, they really have no access, understanding, inkling of what that was about. And what I've found is that people who've really said to me, tell me, make me understand, what was that like? I've been able to talk about my experiences, and I think that even though they can't do anything about my life right now, they just have a better understanding of what that meant, and an acknowledgement of how hard that was, acknowledgement of how much a privilege they had.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall